all, Pie here, and we are back in our life beginnings and always. And I left it off at a choice last time where I think Mr. Holden was just talking abstractly about possibly what he does for work. I'm just gonna stay quiet. Alright, I get it now. The sun had been setting when you'd gotten your food, and by the time you'd finished, night had truly fallen. Your sticky fingers were the only remaining evidence of your meal. The kebab had been a great combination, more than the sum of its parts. The seasoning of freedom to choose every ingredient yourself was what made it something to remember. Rising from the table, Mommy held up her water bottle. Okay, now that the food is gone, you've got to wash your hands.
Okay.
Xander, Lizzie, please hold them out. Lizzie complied, coming over and cupping her hands together in front of her. Mommy splashed some water over her fingers and Lizzie rubbed them together, working off any residue. Here. Mom passed her a paper towel from her purse and Lizzie used it to dry off her hands. Your turn, Xander. Readily had your hands out to catch the water. Copying Lizzie, you washed your hands, taking care to clean every crevice between your fingers before wiping them dry. Nearby, Cove had taken his own course of action, wiping his hands on his pants and leaving a stain where his fingers had been. Mr. Holden shook his head.
Come on.
Let's clean that off, pal. He scrubbed at the fabric with a scrunched up napkin. Dad, it's not that bad. When everyone was cleaned up, or as clean as they could be with the limited facilities, Mom spoke up.
Let's go.
Let's go make one last check at the coolers and restock on drinks before the fireworks show. No time, we have to get a good spot. Everywhere's gonna be taken. How about I go ahead to save space again? You can meet up with me in the field after getting the drinks. Then I'm going with Cove's dad. I'll find the perfect place.
Okay.
Sure thing. I could use an extra pair of eyes. Mommy shook her head ruefully at Lizzie's even more enthusiastic than usual attitude.
That's fine.
Alright, me, Cliff, and Lizzie can go find a place to sit. Pam, Cove, and Xander, do you want to get the drinks? Okay. You nodded. As Mommy, Lizzie, and Mr. Holden headed off into the wide open field where the fireworks were being set up, you joined Cove and Mom in returning to the cooler where you picked up drinks earlier. Even as you approached, you suspected you wouldn't find much in it. Where it had originally been stocked to the brim, it was now half empty. The ice, which had cushioned the drinks and kept them cool, was largely melted, with only a handful of pieces floating like tiny icebergs. Slim pickings. The drinks that remained looked to be bottles of plain water, but you caught a glimpse of something more colorful amongst them. Mom rummaged around in the cooler, excavating a couple of juice boxes from the bottom in the process. Aha! Xander, Cove, you can take one of those if you want. The perks of helping. You took a juice box for yourself. Cove hesitated, but decided to take a juice box for himself. When you were each loaded up with your chosen drink, plus an extra bottle or two for someone else in the group, Mom's phone started to ring. She juggled the water bottles over into the crook of her arm and looked at the caller. It's Mommy. Hold tight while I get this.
How are you?
Hey, hun. How's it going? Did you find our perfect spot already? She nodded along to the call, punctuated by uh-huh, as Mommy gave her directions. Catching her eye, she gestured towards the grassy area. We've got a place. Come on, we better hurry before the show starts. You and Cove jogged after your mom, who led you through the field, and the separate groups of people assembled there, back to the rest of your families.
Hello.
Hello, we're here, and we come bearing drinks, though there wasn't much left. The three of you handed over the spare drinks. You gave Lizzie a bottle of water, but she only had eyes for your juice box. Xander and Cove have juice. They helped get the drinks. You got to pick where we sat. Don't be selfish. I'm not. Good. Then you're going to thank us for bringing you your very own water bottle. Thanks. Once everyone had been equipped with a beverage for the big event, you sat in the grass near your family and waited for the magic to begin. Most people in the park had taken a seat now, with a few stragglers silhouetted back at the tables in the distance. A few rambunctious kids were still dashing about, but their numbers was steadily decreasing as their parents called them over and restored the order. Someone bearing a cardboard box weaved between the groups, pausing every so often. He nudged Lizzie and pointed. What are they doing? It looks like they're handing something out. I can't make out what it is.
What a pickle.
I hope it's not drinks. Mommy chuckled, but Lizzie and Cove were now watching the bestower of mysterious goods keenly. Are they going to come to us too? Mommy softly put her hands on top of your sister's shoulders, as if she feared Lizzie might bolt over to the stranger. Lizzie didn't even glance at her, eyes locked on the potential prize. I don't know.
In that case?
We'll have to wait and see. You were intrigued. Studying the man with the box closely as he gradually meandered nearer, you could make out that he was handing out small items to most of the groups he stopped at. They seemed too short to be water bottles, but beyond that it remained a mystery. Then the box man made his way to your group. Evening, I'm handing out dessert. Any takers? There's dessert? Lizzie squealed, hopping up off the ground. The man chuckled. I'm gonna take that as a yes. Ice cream's on the menu, vanilla flavored with a twist of either chocolate or strawberry syrup.
Nice.
Nice, none for me though, thanks. Same, but the offer's appreciated. I want chocolate. Can I have strawberry? And a strawberry for me too, please. Now you are going to have to make a decision. Chocolate or strawberry? Oof, okay. Both please? You pulled on your mom's shirt and whispered that you wanted chocolate. Oh, and a second chocolate for this one here. Reaching into the box, the man brought out the requested ice creams and tossed them out. It came packaged in a little plastic cup, complete with a wooden spoon stuck to the paper lid. I loved those. I loved those so much as a kid. I think you can still buy them in the store if I'm not mistaken. Or at least you could the last time I checked. It's been a while. The condensation wet your fingers in a pleasant way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kids, are you going to thank the nice man too? There was a chorus of thanks. He cordially nodded and walked off to another group. The man couldn't spend much time with each group considering how many he had to get to. You peeled back the tab that covered the ice cream and got right into your unexpected treat. It tasted amazing. Lizzie was definitely enjoying hers. Cove was too. Lizzie munched away happily, but it ultimately didn't succeed in monopolizing her attention. Eyes wide, she looked at her mommy and pulled on her pants.
Please?
I didn't get strawberry. Can I have some of yours, please?
Of course.
Of course, sweetie. Lizzie cooed with excitement as Mommy presented her with a dollop of the ice cream and syrup mixture. Licking her lips, Lizzie lapped it up. Mommy, come on now. Lizzie has all the ice cream she needs. She simply laughed and pinched Lizzie's cheek, then dug her spoon in again and held it out to you. I just can't resist. Xander, would you like some of mine? He's got a full cup of ice cream to eat already. But that's not the same as getting a little extra from your mommy. You accepted the bite. You ate the treat being offered, much to Mom's chagrin and Mommy's delight. Cove watched the exchange silently with a blank expression. Mom, on the other hand, shook her head, a fond smile on her face. Well, you better at least give me some, too. Can't beat 'em, join 'em. You could have gotten your own if you wanted ice cream. What? The kids have ice cream already, and they're getting some of yours to boot, and I have nothing. Now is when you decide to be firm? Laughing, Mommy fed some ice cream to your sulking mom. She could never actually follow through with being tough. There, all better now. Yes. Good. How about you, Cliff? Would you like some? No, I'm still okay. But thanks for keeping me in mind. Cove, it's only fair that you get the choice too. Cove shook his head firmly, concentrating on his own cup. Mommy smiled. Okay, as long as no one is feeling left out. Mommy was always nice to everyone. Then the first firework cut through the sky, whistling as it ascended until it hit its crescendo with an explosion. The park flashed as if alight. Squealing, Lizzie leapt to her feet, her forgotten ice cream tumbling to the ground as fireworks crackled into tiny drops of glitter in the sky. It's starting! Everyone else looked up to the sky as another firework whizzed through the air. With each explosion, Lizzie would jump into the air. The loud noises hurt your ears. You covered them with your hands. Spotting your discomfort, Mommy came to sit behind you. She placed her own hands over your ears, further muffling the cacophony from above. Soothed, you quietly watched the spectacle. Having Mom with you made you feel better. It didn't seem bad to take in the fireworks while she was around. Cove stayed by his dad, captivated by the sky's sparkles and flashes overhead. Mommy's gaze was on you, then your parents made eye contact. Mom gestured with her hand to silently say things were fine there. Mommy smiled, then hopped to her feet and joined Lizzie in jumping up in tandem with every crack of a firework. They had a little party together. Mr. Holden watched the fireworks scene impassively. He did smile at you, and even gave a thumbs up when he noticed you looked over. The fireworks continued, some twisting like the coil of a spring as they arched into the air, others shooting straight from the ground and shattering into a million tiny specks. Every color got its spotlight in the show, from fiery reds to eerie greens and blues that could rival the ocean. You eventually noticed that at some point Mr. Holden had let Cove perch atop his shoulders, or more likely, Cove had to be persuaded to give it a try. Still, Cove's face was covered with a wide smile that matched his father's own. You imagined the view from way up there was pretty impressive. It was also nice that they were getting along for once. The show built up to a grand finale that boomed over the park and filled every inch of the sky, the twinkling lights representing the full spectrum of the rainbow. As the final glittering embers dissolved into the night, you released a deep breath. The afterimage was still burned on your retinas, leaping up behind your eyelids with every blink. Within a minute, the images had been lost, but it was burned deeper still in your mind. You'd been so focused on the show that your foot had gone numb beneath you, and it was only when you attempted to stand that you felt the tingling sensation of blood rushing back to your toes. Cove was on the ground again. Your eyes locked momentarily, then you turned back to your family. The news that Cove and his dad would be coming with you to the once-a-year event hadn't been great. You could admit now that it hadn't been as bad as you feared, but it would take far more than not actively ruining one event for you to consider Cove a friend. Though the sun had gone down long ago, the air on your bare arms was warm. You took in your giddy family, their spirits buoyed by the firework display, and smiled. This had been a pretty special night. That was cute. I like that. Still not entirely sure what Cove's dad does. I think he runs a shop. Maybe. Probably. Anyway, sandcastles. Cove wasn't able to do many things that summer. When you, him, and Shiloh sat on the shoreline one bright morning, you could tell he wanted to be in the water. But there was no way he'd be swimming anytime soon, not with his cast. The waves washed a single shell to the shore, glittering in blue, another reminder of the places he couldn't go. From what you'd heard about Cove's old life so far, in tiny pieces and fragments, you could tell that he'd do anything to be able to get the cast off. The possibilities of what he might get up to made you anxious. You thought about how his summer last year must have been totally different from this, with his old home and his mom and dad. But now he was here, with you and Shiloh and Lizzie and everyone else, and he couldn't even go in to see. This town wasn't bad. It had all your favorite things in it, but sitting there, on the same beach you'd grown up on, you could understand that not everyone else felt the same way about Sunset Bird as you did. You watched him from the corner of your eye, quietly, as he finally said aloud what you had been pondering. I wish I could go in. The water? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You're gonna be able to do it soon. Cove only sighed in response. Apparently soon wasn't soon enough. It's so pretty, the ocean. And huge. There could be anything out there, like mermaids. Yeah. I wish you didn't have a cast. Me too. Obviously not interested in hearing much more of your input on the situation, Cove turned back to the water. But as he looked away, something about Shiloh's slow, careful movements caught his eye. Hey, are you building a sandcastle? Sort of. I was only playing around while you were talking. I'm listening. Maybe I could too. I've only made big piles before. It's really nothing special. I'm sure you'll be good at it right away. Well, how do you do it then? Shiloh's cheeks lit up. You could tell he was a little bit uncomfortable to have Cove's expectant stare on him. I'll play too. I love making sand stuff.
Okay.
Okay. He put his hands back to his seashells and sand and nodded. I don't do a lot. Here's how I like to get a house started. Shiloh, focusing more intently than you'd ever seen him, guided Cove through his process. You happily used your own method. It didn't take long for the three of you to each have a humble structures prepared. That's all, kind of. You can do anything now, like make it bigger, add some seashells, carve a pretty pattern. I bet you'll have great ideas.
Okay.
I'm gonna make it bigger. Mine's gonna be a real castle. Cool, this is gonna be a house. Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you decide to make... let's go in the middle. A mansion. Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you decide to design a mansion. The better part of the next hour was spent focusing on your own work. The boys were the same. Even Shiloh didn't sneak as many peeks at everyone else as he usually did. You'd finished shaping before either of them did, glancing up from what you built. It seems you got done so fast because they already searched around for extra decorations. Shiloh had grabbed most of the really interesting stuff, and Cove had a lot of shells, but there were still options. The first thing you reached for was a blue seashell. It was the best fit for your mansion, you decided. The blue color of it still reminded you of the clear water. So you tucked it away somewhere secure inside, barely poking out to make sure it didn't get lost. Pleased with your result, you finally took a proper look around that wasn't focused on the sand itself. Both Cove and Shiloh seemed super immersed still. You knew you could probably sneak a peek at either one's work. You decided not to look. You instead watched some clouds go by. The silence was then broken. What's on top of yours, Shiloh? You peeked closer and discovered something shiny sticking out of Shiloh's sand chimney. Oh, it's just a gum wrapper. It looks like smoke.
Neat.
That's good. That's smart. Yeah, I didn't think of that. You really know a lot about this. Shiloh smiled without a word. And that was that for the current topic. Xander, can I see what you did? Sure. You began surveying your work. All you really knew about mansions was that they were supposed to be big, so you've gone really big. It was the size of the country club that Lizzie played golf at compared to Cove and Shiloh's buildings. Probably even bigger. Shiloh quickly decided to jump into the new conversation. Hey Xander, what did you do? I made a mansion. It looks great. Your house is so big. Thanks. You're welcome. I don't think that's the same as a house. Huh? Is being a house bad?
No.
No, but we each made our own place. Nobody is the same. I think we are. Cove raised an eyebrow at that. If something is the only one of that thing, that makes it special. Yeah, for sandcastles and stuff. People too. My dad always says how everybody is their own man, real individual. I don't think I'm very special. Shiloh, you are the most precious little being. I just want to pinch your cheeks. Oh my goodness.
Why?
Why not? Nobody else is you. Shiloh simply shook his head. I'm not different. A beat passed between the two. Cove then looked down at his own work again. Okay. He didn't seem to be bothered leaving the disagreement hanging there. Cove had other things on his mind. My dad tried to get me to make sandcastles the first time we came to this beach. I didn't want to. Cove trailed off. Again, there was another moment of silence. Shiloh shifted and opened his mouth to say something, but Cove spoke up before he could. He didn't think he noticed that Shiloh was going to talk. Hey, do you know what happened when your moms met my dad, Xander? You blinked, not expecting the question. You thought hard. I wasn't there. They didn't tell me. I just remember what happened when I met your dad. Mr. Holden had been a weird stranger then. Well, he was still kind of strange. The other parent acted like him, but you knew him better at this point. Now that you thought about it, it made a lot of sense that Cove's dad talked to him about people being unique. You were pulled from your thoughts when Cove continued. Oh, well, I was there. I don't think my mom has met your dad. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she hasn't. Xander's parents and my dad met the same day I met him. I'm gonna say what happened. Shiloh frowned to himself, ducking his head. His hat cast a shadow over his face. You could still tell he was upset at not being included in Cove's choice of topic. That was kind of boring for him, though giving people their own turn to say the things they want is important too. He stayed silent and let Cove finish his story. Shiloh could talk about stuff after Cove had a chance to share what he planned on. When we moved here, we didn't bring a lot of things with us. Only some stuff that would fit in Dad's car. We didn't even get a moving truck. And I sat in there while Dad brought it all inside. I didn't want it to get out because I knew Dad would make me look around the new house. I really didn't want to do that. His lip twisted into a frown as he recalled that. Then I saw your moms. They were in a car too and stopped at your house. I guess they were coming back from somewhere or something. My dad noticed. He waved his hand, then went over to the front of your house where he started talking to them. I don't know what they said. I couldn't hear it. But he couldn't see me anymore since he was looking the other way. So I opened the car door and left. I wanted to get away and went behind the houses. I found those hills there. The ones where we met the first time. Cove nodded, then stared at you. You stared back. He didn't go on to say anything more. Is that it? Cove's brow wrinkled, like he didn't understand why you were surprised.
Huh?
That's all that happened. Okay. What is it? What? You said that in a weird way. Did I? Cove narrowed his eyes at you, suspicious. Shiloh's mouth twisted into a scowl of disbelief, but he said nothing. Why'd you bring that up anyway? There was a slight shrug of Cove's shoulders.
Well...
I was thinking about it because of the sandcastles. It made me remember when I moved here. Dad showed me the beach first before we went back to the car to unpack. He was really excited about it for some reason. Cove's brows furrowed a little more as he quietly raked his hands through the sand. I get it. He thought maybe Mr. Holden wasn't that excited about the beach and was instead hoping Cove might be. But the line of conversation had come to its end. Even Cove was done with it. Some other topic had popped into his head. Shiloh fidgeting uncomfortably in the sand had made Cove aware of his presence again. They looked at each other, and you could only wonder what this might be about. Hey, Shiloh. Yeah? Why are you always turning so red? Even when nothing is happening. Clearly startled, he jerked back. Neither you or Shiloh had expected that to be how he got included in the conversation again. I don't know, I guess. Okay, it's kind of weird. Cove, why are you so mean? Shiloh's eyes were wide with embarrassment and his lips twitched, and he was blushing even harder than before. Maybe it wasn't only this, perhaps it was certainly the last straw, but it was a big deal to Shiloh. A huge deal. He didn't just look sad, he seemed almost panicked. You weren't sure if he was about to cry or run away or what, but you soon got an answer. Why do you wear glasses? Most kids don't wear glasses, and nobody is named Cove.
Who asked you to come?
Who asked you to come? It was probably your dad bugging Xander's family some more, because you don't have anyone else who'll ever play with you. Cove blinked. The tension on the beach was suddenly uncomfortable in a way you didn't know how to even mention. It didn't seem like the kind of thing he'd get upset about, that you hadn't ever known what kind of thing would bother Shiloh. I'm sorry. Me too. I was just wondering. You nervously messed with the sand. You picked up some sand and turned it over in your hands. There didn't seem to be much you could do to stop the fight, and you weren't sure what to do with yourself. Cove looked over at what you were doing and started building his own set of walls. Shiloh took a breath before kneeling back down to his own patch of sand. It seemed they both decided to try playing again. You were glad of that. You all went back to making more sand buildings, but the whole mood had changed. Shiloh's cheeriness was clearly gone, and Cove looked as confused as ever about why the other boy had blown up. The air stayed uncomfortable the rest of the afternoon, right up to the moment that Shiloh's mom appeared at the beach to take him home. Cove and Shiloh had mostly followed your lead and barely said a word. His mom standing behind him, even Shiloh's goodbye had been quiet. Friendly, cheerful, but noticeably quiet. But with Shiloh gone and the sun going down, you knew it was time for you and Cove to head back to your own houses. You followed him as he made his way out of the sand. The walk home was quiet. You passed by familiar landmarks, shoes thumping against the sidewalk in near perfect unison. Cove was clearly caught up in thinking about something. You stayed silent. There was no way you could ask, not with that look on his face. But a minute or so later, he spoke up anyway. Hey, Xander. What? Cove was silent again for a few more seconds, then sighed. Why'd Shiloh act like that? When I said he was all red a lot. You were being rude to him. No, I wasn't. It looked like that to me, and I wasn't just saying that one thing. You're not very nice to Shiloh. I didn't mean it like that. Shiloh is kind of weird to talk to. See? That's kind of rude. I guess I can get it. Why he would do that. Sometimes I get really mad too. Despite seemingly coming to a conclusion, Cove's mood was still sour. What Shiloh said didn't make sense anyway. Parents always talk to other parents and set up stuff so their kids play together. My dad didn't do anything weird. You struggled not to make a face at that. His dad definitely did something weird to try and get you to spend time with Cove. But Cove didn't know that. You decided to tell him about how his dad had offered you money. Well, remember how you talked about how our parents met and I didn't know what had happened? Yeah? I kind of had something happen that you don't know about when I met your dad. As you struggled to find the right words, Cove looked at you passively. You wilted under his gaze, breaking eye contact. You stared at the ground. I was walking home and your dad was sitting in front of the house. It must have been after you ran away. My moms weren't there either. I think they were looking for you. Your dad saw me. He got up and came over. Mr. Holden told me that he just moved into the house next to mine. He snuck a look at Cove. He was still listening, his expression as plain as before. He paused for a moment, wondering if you should really keep going. And I'm actually going to cut it there, leave suspense for the next session. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this so far, please leave a like, leave a comment if you have anything to share, or if you just want to, leave your thoughts on the choice you would make in this situation. If you have not already, please consider subscribing. And if you would like to support me financially, please go check out my Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can get early access to all of my videos. And for everyone else, I just hope to see you again in the next one.